It is time now for a check of the top business news stories. I'm joined by Cole Stangler. Hi there, Cole.
Hey, Tom.
Let's begin, shall we, with a story rather uncomfortable, perhaps, for Boeing. Some internal messages have been leaked.
That's right. It's going to likely further headaches at the aerospace giant. Of course, the company has been reeling from the worldwide grounding of its 737 MAX jet following 2 deadly crashes. Now Boeing has handed over more than 100 pages of internal messages to U.S. Congress. The documents do not paint a very pretty picture of the firm. They feature employees openly talking about the jet's design problems, as well as mocking government regulators. Shirley Sitbon has the details.
They've been called incredibly damning. The messages exchanged by Boeing employees over the 737 MAX airplane and its safety flaws point to the company's approach to the crisis. They show safety problems had been flagged long before the 2 crashes that killed 346 people, and the tone used is often disparaging.
Would you put your family on a MAX simulator-trained aircraft? I wouldn't.
No.
This airplane is designed by clowns, who in turn are supervised by monkeys.
Some employees discuss downplaying the plane's flaws when reporting to regulators. The messages show attempts to dodge scrutiny and the company's efforts to avoid pilot simulator training to cut costs. Boeing says it has released the documents to be transparent, adding that now it is confident that all of Boeing's MAX simulators are functioning effectively. The Federal Aviation Administration has said the messages do not raise new safety concerns.
While the tone and content of some of the language contained in the documents is disappointing, the FAA remains focused on following a thorough process for returning the Boeing 737 MAX to passenger service.
The planes have been grounded since March 2019. Boeing will have to pay airlines who have had to cancel thousands of flights. The company has decided to halt construction of the plane mid-January. It will also have to compensate victims' families. Boeing hopes that once the planes are allowed to fly again, it can start recovering from the crisis. But the FAA has warned against any attempts to try and speed up the process.
Okay, so some pretty uncomfortable viewing for Boeing. Now, here in France, unions sitting down with the government. They're trying to find a way to break the deadlock. We've had 37 days of strikes now over this pension reform.
That's right. Now, some unions want the government to scrap the reform entirely. Others say they're willing to support a new pension law, but as long as it doesn't include an effective hike in the retirement age. Unions keen on making that compromise are meeting with the Prime Minister today. They're pushing the government to replace that cost-saving measure with something else. Some of the ideas floated reportedly include tapping into Social Security reserve funds or reindexing benefits. One union has called for yet another measure.
For high revenue earners, we could raise their contributions to Social Security. It would make sense for those making more than €10,000 a month to contribute more to national solidarity.
Now, in the meantime, costs of French businesses are piling up from the strikes. Earlier in the day, Transport Minister Elizabeth Borne talked about the impact of France's state rail company, the SNCF, and the figures she gave are quite high. Take a listen.
There's a considerable cost, which is €20 million a day in losses for the SNCF.
20 million times 37 days of strikes equals 700 million. And then, with the refunds for passengers, is it going to reach 1 billion?
I think we're talking about considerable amounts of money.
Let's take a look now at the day's trading action. Shares on the major European indices posting some slight gains to close out the week. The FTSE up just over the flat line. Same story on the CAC 40, as you can see here. The DAX, meanwhile, over in Frankfurt, up around 0.25%. Investors looking ahead to monthly jobs figures out of the United States. Those are slated to arrive later this afternoon. Now, earlier in the day, Asian markets finished in largely positive territory, extending Thursday's rally on Wall Street. The Nikkei up around 0.5%. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong up around 0.25%. Shanghai Composite, though, with some slight losses. Now, investors around the world breathing a sigh of relief as tensions between the U.S. and Iran calm. The drop in oil prices are a clear manifestation of that. Brent crude trading at around $65.60 a barrel. You can see up just slightly today. Same thing with the West Texas Intermediate barrel. Still, though, those prices down under where, or just about the same level where they were when those U.S.-Iran tensions started ramping up earlier this month.
Okay, Cole, it looks like people who've invested in Ryanair Stocks should be pretty happy today. The shares up 6% today.
Absolutely. That's after the low-cost carrier lifted its annual profit forecast for 2019. Net profit is now expected to range between 950 million and 1.05 billion euros. It's up from a prior estimate that was between 800 and 900 million. The Irish carrier cited a, quote, stronger than expected holiday travel period, as well as fourth quarter bookings that were better than expected.
Okay, and Airbnb, another company that's in the news for the right reasons as far as they're concerned.
Right, booming in France. According to Le Parisien newspaper, the firm is ponying up some 58 million euros in tourist taxes to the French state for 2019. Now that sum is more than double the amount from the previous year. It's above all the result of increased use of the home rental platform. Some, though, still say the company isn't paying enough in taxes.
The tourist tax collected by Airbnb doubled in 2019 compared with the previous year. 58 million euros paid to 28,000 cities, towns, and villages. Paris comes at the top with 15 million euros, followed by Marseille and Nice. Tourist hubs, including some villages in the Alps or on the French Riviera, have also collected hefty amounts. The tourist tax is paid by Airbnb users who have rented out apartments. The global sum has increased because the site now collects the tax automatically. Until 2 years ago, users had to declare the amounts they owed on their own, and few complied with the law. French legislators have since voted a bill that forces companies like Airbnb to transmit data like the number of visitors renting out homes and rooms. The tourist tax has also increased because more people have been using Airbnb. In 2018, there were already 16 million of them in France alone. The figures have been released as the platform has been criticized for not paying enough taxes. In response to that, France passed its GAFA tax law designed for internet giants. Airbnb has since been paying 3% of its digital gross sales in the country.
And finally, one of the hottest items at this week's Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Tech firm Lenovo is calling it the world's first foldable PC. It's called the ThinkPad X1, and its OLED display screen folds completely in half, moving from a 13-plus-inch tablet into a much smaller screen, with the bottom half transforming into a digital keyboard, as you can see here. It's not available right away, though, Tom. It will be in the second half of the year. It's also going to cost a bit for now. The retail value right now is set at some $2,500 US.
Yeah, they say the way forward is going to be a lot more flip phones and flip tablets out there. But as you say, it's expensive business.
For now, at least.
Thank you very much indeed. Cole Stangler with today's business. Don't go away. I'll be back in a couple of minutes with all the top stories.